everybody, it's Romania Black. New fall due, new season of Chihayafuru. I'm a poet and didn't know it, but we are on season 2 of Chihayafuru, finally. I know, thank you for taking a week off with me. I started doing that on my channel this year in terms of every season that ends, every show that ends, I take a week off. Usually I have an extra that I've been wanting to do that I'll put in on the channel for that, so it's not really taking a week off, but it is from this series. But I'm super excited. I do have translations for poems from episodes 23 and 24 from Foreign Oda. Not 25 yet, but hopefully by next week we'll have those. So I'm pretty excited. It's a whole new season. I don't know what we're going to get. I do know from the moderator that there's an OVA after the season that we'll watch before we get into season 3. So don't worry about that. And we'll probably watch it before the break between season 2 and season 3. So, but we're getting the cart before the horse. We need to start out and talk about the comments for episodes 23, 24, and some of 25. So this is going to be a long intro. Buckle up, but it's been a couple weeks since we finished season 1, so there's been things people have needed to say. So let's dive into this, shall we? Foreign Oda for episode 23 says, Poem of the day was A Cold Winter's Night. A little busy. I'm writing this over lunch, and I'll keep this short. Poem 6 is written by Otomu no Yakamochi of the 36 Immortals. Mosto translates the poem as, When I see the whiteness of the frost that lies on the bridge the magpies spread, then do I know, indeed, that the night has deepened. The Magpie's Bridge refers to 2 places. The first is the Imperial Palace, as at the time it had a set of stairs called Magpie's Bridge, while the latter refers to the famous legend of Tanabata. The legend shows up often in the anime, as Tanabata is commonly shown as a celebration. Think of Haruhi. The legend is explained here. Tanabata, the Star Festival, celebrated to commemorate the romantic story of 2 lovers, represented by the stars Vega and Altair, who are allowed to meet each other once a year as long as the skies are clear. It is celebrated on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month, which is July 7th in the modern calendar. On Tanabata, people write wishes on small pieces of colored paper called tanzaku and hang them on bamboo trees. These become beautiful wish trees, and on the following day, the decorated trees are floated on a river in the ocean and burned as an offering. That's really interesting. I know of that legend mainly because of all things of Bleach, the shonen anime, which if we're going by Bleach logic, and I don't want to get too crazy with that. If we're going by Bleach logic, I would think that means that Chihaya and Arata are going to end up as our Indo ship, which we're going to talk about that a little more before we start this season here in a second. If Arata and Chihaya are going to end up together, if it's going to be Chihaya Taichi, none of the above, we'll see. But anyway, Tanabata originated from a Chinese legend called Chichi, which was brought to Japan in the 8th century. This is the story of 2 lovers. Princess Orihime, the seamstress, wove beautiful clothes by the heavenly river, represented by the Milky Way. Because she worked so hard weaving the beautiful clothes, she became sad and despaired of ever finding love. Her father, who was the god of the heavens, loved her dearly and arranged her to meet Hikoboshi, a cow herder who lived on the other side of the Milky Way. The 2 fell in love instantly and married. Their love and devotion was so deep that Orihime stopped weaving, and Hikoboshi allowed his cows to wander to the heavens. Orihime's father became angry. Dude, you set them up. What did you expect? And forbade the lovers to be together. But Orihime pleaded with him to allow them to stay. He loved his daughter, so he decided to decree that the 2 star-crossed lovers can meet once a year, the 7th day of the 7th month, if Orihime returned to her weaving. On the first day they were to be reunited, they found the river to be too difficult to cross. Orihime became so despondent that a flock of magpies came and made a bridge for her. It is said that if it rains on Tanabata, the magpies will not come, and the 2 lovers must wait another year to be reunited. So people in Japan always wish for good weather on Tanabata. There are many variations of the story, but this is the most widely held version. This isn't exactly the news that Taichi fans wanted to read. Especially after his association to Shino Burrito poem and A Love That Cannot Be Hidden. But yeah, Kana associates the legend to Arata for good reason, given their relationship and how often they were able to see each other. The idea of fate is really strong when describing the 2 of them. And look, I might as well go ahead and say it, but came to kind of a revelation about Taichi by the end of season 1. We're going to talk about it in a comment below, but I think it's something about Taichi that I hope happens in this season, if at least anything else. We'll get to it here in a second. But yeah, this poem for episode 23 is definitely an Arata and Chihaya poem. Bear P. Pratt for episode 23 says, our favorite throuple, Cat, Arata, or Chihaya, Arata, Taichi. I'm going to call them Cat now, so thank you for that. I'm going to call them Cat because they are cat. The phrase that Tsutomu brings up about family and the poem Chihaya says to Arata through the phone, poor boy, she wasn't saying anything at first. I don't know if this has already been brought up, but Chihayafuru had a 3-movie live-action adaptation and is now having a live-action series future spinoff. I say this because the actor who plays Arata is Makinyu, who's Zoro from One Piece. His stage name is also Makinyu Arata because of the series, which impacted him a lot. He named himself after Arata. Oh my god. Could I love him more? I love Makinyu in the live-action One Piece. I have reactions to season 1 on my channel if you want to go check those out. Mwah. Oh, he's such a good actor. I love him. I love him. That's awesome. I probably won't react to the live action series for anime. I'm not a big live action anime spin-off series reactor. I did it for a couple series and I was like, eh. But that is cool. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good. But that is cool to know. I'm going to call them Cat though. Our throuple Cat. Fornoda says, for episode 24, the poem of the day is Nobody Wishes to See the Beautiful Cherry Blossoms. Poem 73 is written by Oe no Masafusa, a famed poet, scholar, and tutor under the emperors of Shirakawa, Horikawa, and Toba. Masafusa was most known by his title of acting middle counselor, but also his proficiency both in Japanese and Chinese-style poetry. He also authored Gokei Shiri, which became one of the most valuable sources of historic information for ceremonial and public functions in the 11th century. Mosto translates the poem as, above the lower slopes of the high mountains, the cherries have blossomed. Oh, mist near the mountains, how I wish you would not rise. Musto also elucidates that many Hyakunin Isshu poems have multiple interpretations. Poem 73's is made clear from its headnote. Masafusa hopes that the mist will not rise and block the view of the cherry blossoms. That's what I thought it meant. So that good to know. That said, today's episode 24, turns that meaning on its head, using the idea of mist hiding the cherry blossoms to convey regret. This is easily seen by the episode title, Nobody Wishes to See the Beautiful Cherry Blossoms. Chihaya and Taichi are watching the Queen and Master games, the pinnacle of Karuta, or the fruition of talent and effort. For them, it's hard to watch. Chihaya is even moved to tears in watching Shinobu play. Both of them have aspirations of sitting on the same stage as the Queen and Master, but they're not there yet, and we can see the frustration on their faces. The desire to play even right then still burning strong. I would agree with that. I don't think Chihaya is sad. I think she's more frustrated, but I think she also supports Shinobu so much. Here's my difference. I don't think Taichi is thinking of how Suo loves the cards, because he doesn't, or thinking about Shinobu loving the cards. Chihaya was moved because Shinobu loved the cards. Chihaya was moved and frustrated she couldn't be there. But I feel like there's a lot more complex emotions going on than just they were frustrated, but I get what you're saying. The Queen and Master game may be a beautiful spectacle, but they're the losers that Chihaya described last episode, unfortunately, forced to watch from afar and not in the light that they wanted to. Again, I feel like it's more complicated. They've gone through more than that, and that's all there is to it. Prince Kumar says for episode 24, and S Anime said this as well, there's a translation issue for sure, because from what I remember, the guy was saying, Suo, or the guy that faced Suo, was saying in episode 24, I worked so hard to get here, but now this man is making me hate the game I loved so much. It's commentary on Suo's playstyle. He destroys the love for Karuta in his opponents. the perfect antagonist for our Karuta-loving protagonists. Which I find that so fascinating because we talked about this in episode 25 and episode 24 about how Shinobu loves the cards. Suo seems to make you hate the cards. And so there's that, which you could argue that Shinobu makes you hate the game too because she's so good at it. You could argue that as well. That was kind of the impression the first match we saw her in when she defeated that guy in like 2 moves. But anyway, I find that fascinating because they've said Chihaya is similar to Suo in her game style. So what a weird idea that Chihaya, who wants everyone to love Karuta, wants everyone to play it, could possibly with her play style make people hate the game. Which kind of has been hinted at because the first time that Kana and Tsutomu were really playing her, they thought it was impossible to beat her. So it's there. The foreshadowing is there. I'm going to be curious to see how this goes in season 2. Alexander Q says for episode 24, seeing Yumi actually want to get back and fight Shinobu again made me happy. Up until this point, it seemed that she had lost her passion for Karuta, but losing actually made her appreciate more again and want to come back to it. In a sense, I think she's similar to Arata's childhood idol, the guy from his society that stopped trying to beat Suo and become the master. In that sense, she was someone fighting for the queen and master title who had lost her inspiration for the game. Except, of course, that Yumi finds herself wanting again to reach that spot, and not something we've seen yet with Arata Senpai. Before episode 25, also Alexander Q has given me the new crack ship, which is Yumi and Muro. They are my new crack ship. They've never met before, but I'm shipping them now because of that comment. So ship away, crack shippers. I've given you a new crack ship if it didn't already exist. It probably did. But Alexander Q also says for episode 25, I love how Chihaya and Taichi's journeys mirror each other in gaining confidence in their abilities. We're going the Scott Pilgrim route, y'all. Someone I was not expecting to like so much or have so much to say about was Murao. I feel like he realized with his siblings that he had left Arata alone for so long. I love this comment. He reproached Arata for leaving Karuta for a year when we first met him, and I wonder if he was realizing that maybe it wasn't only Arata leaving Karuta for a year, but also that he was alone. And I wonder if anyone went to see him during that time, if Murao himself went, or if he was all alone after his grandpa died and left to grapple with his emotions towards Karuta alone. And that's why Murao went to him now, maybe a little guiltily, but finally ready to be there for Arata and help him become better and reach the goal of becoming the master. I mean, after all, it wasn't until someone reached to Arata about Karuta again, Taichi and Chihaya, that he was able to sort of unfreeze and start thinking about Karuta again. So I wonder what would have happened to him if he had had someone who loved Karuta like his grandpa did with him throughout that difficult time. That is such a great point, and I had not talked about it during episode 25, but yeah, Murao kind of realizes, he's like, you were, and that goes back to when he said you were alone. Arata was alone that whole time. Like, he didn't have anybody. His grandpa had died, nobody was supporting him, and the society didn't seem to support him, so I think Murao kind of realizes, you probably would have came back sooner if you'd had somebody supporting you or talking you through or being there to listen and to help out. So that was such a good point to bring up. HBanana7 for episode 25 says, Kyoto people are notorious for stabbing you with a smile or with their words. Quote, oh, what a nice watch you have, end quote, is their way of saying, well, look at the time, dimwit, you're wasting my time. So yeah, pretty passive aggressive. Since Kyoto was the capital city for a long time, there are still a historical capital of Japan, they are a bit proud. I kind of like that. I guess Kyoto is like the city version of like a really deep South United States woman that's like, bless your heart, like, oh, sweetheart, bless your bones. Like, it sounds sweet, but it's kind of like, you dummy. Like, sort of that way, with an affectionate twist sometimes. And then S. Carlark says for episode 25, Just some things to clarify. Arata was not playing Karuta. He was studying and following the position of the cards alongside the game, and after the game, studying his previous match's card's position. I do like that, though, because I think that still, regardless of whether he was imitating the game or just following along, it's still a very kinesthetic, like, learning as you play sort of thing, which I like when series show people and how they are different learners. I really like that. That's cool. The teacher in me really gets into that. So nice. And Shinobu, in fact, did not have a teacher. Her grandmother never taught her Karuta. I didn't mention in the previous episode comment section, but her grandmother has nothing to do with Karuta. She's associated with the prefecture, more like a governmental thing. But yes, she doesn't know if they could end up teaching Karuta even if they'd never had a teacher. Oh, I guess even though Shinobu's not had a teacher, that's interesting to me. So I don't know. I do feel like I don't know. As a teacher myself, it feels a little elitist to say that if you've not had a teacher, you can't teach people. I'm like, you may not know the logistics or some of the fine-tuning things, but I think you can still pass on your skills. It just may be a little bit more rudimentary and not as polished or refined or backed up by experience or the knowledge that you would gain from learning from a teacher. But I don't think we should gatekeep learning and say that we can't be coaches if we've never, been coached ourselves. I don't know. I don't like that gatekeeping aspect of it. So I would say that Shinobu and Suho can definitely teach. They just may not be great teachers, but they could definitely coach and teach if they wanted to. They have the knowledge, they have the skill, they may find a way. And here's the thing too, they might find a way to coach to someone in a way that a traditional coach wouldn't be able to reach. People learn in all sorts of different ways, so we shall see. They clearly learned something if they are the master and the queen. So I also wanted to point out, so I thought I had a comment saved, but somebody had talked about in the comment section about Taichi just instead of trying to focus on Chihaya, focusing on himself. And that's what I honestly want for season 2. Like, I know Taichi loves Chihaya. He loves her hopelessly, desperately. Girl is off on another planet, isn't even thinking about romance, but good for you, Taichi. But I want Taichi to improve himself. You can focus on romance later, bud. You and Chihaya are friends. You're close. Focus on yourself and get into your goals. And still be a friend of Chihaya, still play against her, still help her, but you don't have to. I want him to treat her less like a crush and more like a friend. Because that's honestly, like, if he's really wanting to develop that relationship, as much as he's around her, he's got to go that route. Because if he just treats her like a crush, it's going to be weird and it's not going to work out. So we'll see. But thank you all so much for following along with me, for listening to all these comments. I've been reading everybody's comments that I can, that the mods say don't have spoilers, which most of them have all been great. So good job. And so I'm super excited now that we get season 2 and to see what we're going to get. So yay. Okay, we've got a whole new OP, a whole new ED, and I'm super excited. So we're going to start episode 1 or episode 26 of season 2 of Chihayafuru, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, so welcome to season 2, and I'm liking season 2 already. I'm really enjoying season 2 quite a lot. We have a lot to talk about with this episode, but Sumire, I like her. I like her a lot. There's a mysterious boy who is joining the team for unknown reason so far. I don't know if he likes Chihaya or has a crush on her or has a crush on Kana or has a crush on Tsutomu or Nishida or Taichi. Who knows? But I'm curious why he's playing, why he's getting involved, but let's just dive into this episode and talk about it. There are 20 people that they got to recruit to come to there. Do I think the 20 are staying? God, no. We'll be lucky if we get 3. I don't know if we're going to get the 5 immediately. The others may join after the fact, but we'll see. We'll see. Or it could be one of those anime things where they said 5, but they're like, oh, well, you got 2 and you brought a title back. We'll let it slide, or whatever the case may be. Anyway. So yeah, so we start this episode off with the cherry blossoms blooming outside. Everybody's gearing up. I like it. feels very festive that everybody's wearing like the sweaters and stuff, even though it's spring there. So it's just it's a spring cool, not a fall cool. But everybody's practicing. I like Taichi is practicing his swing out in the open. That's really good. Kana's practicing reading the poems. It's all good there. And they're trying to figure out how they're going to get 5 new club members to join the Karuta group. So that's our big quest. So they were going to run a demo for the student body meeting. And I'm glad they didn't do that, because I feel like I know from coaching forensics that forensics, which is competitive public speaking, is a very intimidating field. People get intimidated by it because a lot of people are scared to speak in front of other people. And so we always would have, right before we go to nationals, we would have like a night before nationals sort of event, and people could come out and see us perform and things like that. And so a lot of colleges, a lot of schools, a lot of high schools do that as well. But by that point, the people that are coming are the people interested. But if I went to a school and did a demonstration, I would imagine people would be intimidated by that. So I agree with Kana. They're like, instead, let's play to our strengths. Let's have the 2 hottest people talk about Karuta in front of everybody and see if that gets their attention, which is really funny. But Kana's like, we don't want to scare the first years away. And Chihaya's like, oh, but, and to be fair, I appreciate that Chihaya throughout this episode is like, yes, we do want 5 people to join, but I love Chihaya saying, we want 5 people that are going to love Karuta to join, because I feel like the one thing I don't like that some of these people do in this show is call her dumb and give her a hard time. I'm like, Chihaya is playing the long game. Our girl may get excited and kind of lose focus in the moment, and she comes across as ditzy, but girl is playing the long game. She's like, no, we can't just have a bunch of people who don't care join our team, because when we graduate, it will die. The Karuta team will die. They won't keep it up. They won't be committed. They'll just be like, well, that was fun, and they'll go join something else. She's like, no, you can't have that. And Chihaya was thinking like a coach in this episode. And she was getting 9 kinds of hate for it. And not hate, but ridicule for it. I'm like, y'all, they're all thinking of different goals. But Chihaya is playing the long game. She's thinking like a coach. And I want to commend her for that, because you can't just have people playing in the corner. Like, there is so much to that. Like, your team sets a mentality, and it affects everyone on the team. If somebody's slacking off, then it's the team's job to kind of pull that person up and say, hey, let's work together. Let's practice. But I've judged teams with players that didn't care, and that mentality started to drag down others with it. And then it was like a collective not caring. And that's hard to turn around without getting rid of the root problem or making the root problem change. So Chihaya, I'm kind of with her for a lot of this. I was like, y'all, she's being a little bit wise beyond her years, and y'all don't even know. So, and then of course, I like that anytime Taichi sees Chihaya, she is associated with wistfully looking out the window, being very idealistic and free and carefree. I love that about her. And I love that he sees that about her. She's like, I hope they fall in love with Karuta. Which honestly, if you play this game, you've at least got to like it. You may not love Karuta, but you at least got to like it if you're going to play it and be successful. And again, I think that's one of the reasons Taichi loves her so much, is that she's so passionate and she's so kind. I love her staring out that window. That's great. And then the moment she stares out the window, it cuts to her holding everyone's hands. Now, this is the crazy part about that flashback where we see her holding Taichi and Arata's hands. In that moment, again, talking about Romania's tinfoil hat theories, in that moment, Taichi is seated on the box above Chihaya and Arata, meaning Chihaya and Arata may not become queen and master. Who knows? Taichi might. But Taichi is seated at a different level than Arata and Chihaya. Chihaya and Arata are on the same level. And as they are holding hands, Chihaya is looking at Arata, who isn't meeting her eyes, but she's looking at him. And Taichi's looking at her, but she's not looking at him. This mangaka wants to torture this man. wants to torture this man. But anyway, so then we have the montage. And then Arata is looking out the window at the cherry blossoms as well. Again, the parallel of both Chihaya and Arata looking at the cherry blossoms, but Taichi's looking at her. Show. So then we get the intro. A couple things I want to note about the intro. Super cute. I'm sure I'll be talking about it a lot. This whole train scene where it is, if we're going to look at the train scene, let's break that down for a hot second here. You had Chihaya looking at Arata at the train stop. You had Arata looking away. Then you had Taichi over here looking towards Chihaya, who then turned around and looked back at him and then smiled. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. We'll see where that goes in all of this. But yeah, then we got, I think we got the new faces on here. Yeah, we got the one guy, he kind of reminds me of Suo. So we'll see what happens with him. But he kind of reminded me of Suo. And we had Samire featured on this, which is fun. Yeah, but they're the only two that we have in this intro so far. So maybe they only get 2 more players included. I don't know. But then we have players from other teams. Retro-kun is there, which is fun. And then, yeah, Shinobu has all the vines and everything. Fun times. What can we do? So, yeah. So, we cut to Samire-chan. Samire-chan is fun. So, the episode itself is called So the Flower Has Wilted. Samire has recently broke up. She has been broken up, dumped by her boyfriend. And she wants a rebound. And she has dedicated that she's going to date the hottest guy in school, who just happens to be in the Kuruda Club. Yep. But poor Samire. It's from Kazuki. It says, subject none. First day of school for both of us. I'm so tired. Feel lousy. Time for a new start, though. Why don't we both look for new partners? What I mean is, let's break up. What a jerk. What a jerk. On the first day of school, while she's going to school, you want to break up? Like, dude, that should have been a day after, or like after the first week, or, poor her, saying I was dumped. Look. At first, I thought that her and Nishida would be a fun pairing because she starts out very surface level, like, oh, I'm just going to date the hottest guy in school, and that's Taichi, and so I'm going to go after him. And I thought it would be kind of fun if she ended up dating Nishida, because Nishida is not the stereotypically hot guy, but she's very bold and outward with her thoughts, and Nishida's kind of bold and outward with his thoughts. So I thought, well, that'd be a fun duo. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, they'd probably like enable each other too much. But you know who else is bold and forthright? Chihaya. So even though Sumire has labeled Chihaya as her enemy, they're both pretty outgoing. They're pretty outspoken. And when they want something, they want something. So she wants what she wants. And she is willing to go after it, which by the end of this episode, I was like, oh, girl, I actually might support you and Taichi quite a bit. And that could be a fun dynamic that we go off of here. We'll see. What starts out as her pursuing the hottest guy in school might end up being her pursuing, somebody she's meant to be with. We'll talk about it. We'll see. So her name is Hanano, but it's Sumire. And she's like, she's a lot like Chihaya. She's just very kind of dorky, but in like, she doesn't think that she's dorky. She reminds me of a character from another series that I've been watching where she thinks she's really popular, and she kind of is, but she also is kind of a dork deep down. She's like, I'm going to make this guy regret dumping me by finding a super hot guy. And then there's Taichi, which, man, and all the guys are like after, Chihaya and all this. I like Kana, the recruitment strategist, is like, yes, the kimonos are perfect, which, good strategist. Social chair, good job, Kana. So yeah, they have the presentation. I like that Chihaya was told to keep quiet. Bless her heart, Chihaya's just she's super energetic, super eager, super gung-ho. Can you blame her? I tell you right now, if this was One Piece and she was a male character like Luffy, nobody would have been able to keep her quiet. No, I'm joking. Nami and Robin probably would have like held his mouth shut. So no, that's to be fair. But I love that she finally does get to speak. And, you know, Taichi frames it in the very political way of like, just come by, just see what it's about. I'm hot. And Chihaya is like, I am greedy and want 100 new members so that we can take on nationals. Girl, there is no problem with wanting a lot and accepting a little in that case. She's like, my goal is to become friends with all 100 cards, and I would love 100 junior members. If we had the 7 deadly sins, to be fair, Chihaya's sin would be greed. Would Taichi be lust? He might be. Might be lust. Would Arata be sloth because he skipped a year out? Maybe. That's going to be interesting to think about. She's like, she's cute and clueless. Okay, so we have the 7 deadly sins if we have this new player included as well. So if you had that, Chihaya would be greed, 100%. You have Kana, you have Tsutomu, you have Taichi, you have Nishida, you have Sumire, and then you have New Guy. New Guy's going to be hard to determine. Nishida, what do we have? We have Sloth, which is just sloth meaning that you're lazy or that you don't want to do it. I don't know. We'll put New Guy down as sloth for right now. I don't know. Kana, we have envy. Envy is wanting, or would Taichi be envy? Ooh, Taichi might be envy. Wrath, would Wrath be Nishida or Tsutomu? Or Sumire. That'd be a good question. Lust is does deep desire of something, but Taichi could be lust too. I don't know. We'll put lust there. I don't know. I feel like then you have wrath, then you have pride. I definitely think Kana would be pride. Or would that be Nishida? Ooh, the deadly sins are not categorizing themselves easily with our crew, but if anything, Chihaya is most certainly greed. Absolutely. And it makes me so sad that people instantly categorize Chihaya as just cute and clueless. Girl, she is bubbly, enthusiastic, and sweet, but girl's not clueless, she's just passionate. And then anybody with any shipping radar in their system would watch Taichi walk past her and give her the little forehead boop and would be like, that guy likes her. He likes her. Here's the thing. And one reason why I would ship Sumire with Taichi, because Sumire would not put up with his business. She would not put up with his BS. She'd be like, get it together. She'd be like, get it together to him. I feel like that's what she would say. I feel like she has enough like fire in her that she'd be like, get it together, right? I feel like Sumire is somebody that she is not afraid to say it like it is. She's a little bit cunning, which I think matches with Taichi. She thinks a lot about things, which would match with Taichi. So, we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, if the crew to club does not recruit 5 new members next year, you'll have to return the club room. Good luck. So throughout, they have a year. They have the whole year. So we could do, 2 members now, right? And then they're like, well, we don't want too many because who's going to coach them and teach them? Which Chihaya's like, yes, please. I'll do it. I'll teach them. Now, to the club's credit, would I have Chihaya teach all of them? No, I would make it a group effort. I like Kana's idea of Kana teaching them because Kana knows the proper etiquette. Kana's very stern. I feel like Chihaya, in wanting them all, Chihaya is a bit idealistic where she wants people to love the cards, but she expects that because she loves them, other people will as well. Kana's a little bit more realistic with it. And I think that Kana would be a good teacher because she's someone that's not like a prodigy with it, but she's also not somebody that has that expectation that they be amazing. Now, they're like, don't you need to practice? And she's like, well, we need to think about how many first years are coming. She's like, I bought new cards with the extra budget. Okay, so the new cards are numbered to help make it easier for them to learn. She's like, I hope they learn to love Karuta. And then, we can have them continue with the club. She's so excited there's so many at the door, but they're all really there just to see Taichi. I mean, now there is the one guy there, so we'll see why he's there. But then she gets the name wrong. She gets Sumiri's name wrong. And Sumiri's like, I hate you already. Like, just, look, if you were trying to say, I mean, if you were going to split Taichi and Chihaya up and have Chihaya go with Arata and Taichi with someone else, Sumire she'd be the one. The aesthetic, we'll see. We'll see, but who knows? Maybe she'll end up with somebody else. So they ask a question, and the question is if Taichi is single. I do feel a little bit bad for Taichi being a little objectified in this, because all these girls care about is whether or not he's with someone else. So I do feel bad for Taichi. I feel like they're not focusing on anything but his good looks, and he clearly knows that. He says he doesn't, but I'm like, no, on that train conversation, he knows. He's aware. But he deals with it the best that he can. But yeah, Kana takes control. And of course, Sumire is like, oh, she's got big boobs. She's an enemy too. I'm like, girl, do not worry. Taichi is not interested in Kana. His interests are not that way. I love that the Empress not conveniently, she does have the tennis team to worry about, but she's like, bye, gotta go take care of them. Funny. So Chihaya's like, has anybody ever played before? Nobody raises their hand. And she's like, that's okay. We're all beginners at one point. Look, as a teacher and as somebody that has substitute taught grade school for like 5 years, I will tell you right now, Chihaya gives kindergarten teacher energy. Maybe not kindergarten. That involves a lot of basic skills. She gives 5th grade teacher energy. Chihaya needs to teach like right on the edge of elementary and middle school, where they know enough to be able to do things, but she can also teach them, and they're at that age where they kind of soak stuff in like a sponge and they want to learn, typically. She is grade school teacher vibes in this whole set. And I live for it. I'm like, yes, Chihaya, teach those kids. I mean, is it necessarily like the best way to get to your peers? Maybe not. But, and I do agree with Chihaya and Kana. Kana's like, we're going to have a test. You 20 that are here are not just going to be here to oogle Taichi the whole time. We ain't got room for y'all, and we got to practice. So we're going to do a test to determine who's going to stay, and we'll go from there. And I think that's smart. And, Chihaya was going to be like, let's just keep all of them. And Kana's like, no, we got to weed them out. And then Chihaya gets on board. So they show them, because it's episode 1 of season 2. They show us the premise of how to play the game, as they should. And they explain it. And Sumire is at first like, oh, well, what are they doing? Like, this is, very complicated, and I don't know about this. And she makes a joke about just playing Bozu Makuri. What is Bozu Makuri? What is that? How to play Bozu Makuri. Oh, Karuta for beginners. Oh, what is that? So Bozu Makuri is, you play with the Karuta cards in a traditional game. If you don't know how, or you haven't memorized, the traditional version is hard to play. So there's an easier version that you play with kids using only the illustrated cards. Oh, okay. So you place all 100 cards face down in 2 piles for player A and player B. If player A turns a card from the pile. If it's a man's card, you take it and add it to your pile. If it's a woman's card, you add it to your captured pile and take another card until you get a man, monk, or an emperor. If it's a monk, you release the cards you have and place them in the middle. And that pile is up for grabs for whoever gets an emperor card. And if it's an emperor, you take all the cards from the pile. The winner is the person who takes the most cards at the end. Oh, well, yeah. So basically, if you just didn't want to play the hard version, this is kind of like the Uno version of it. But I get why Chihaya's like, that's not going to help us. They're still playing with the cards, but she's like, I bought the cards for them to learn the game. Right? She's like, we should help them. Since we have 20 people who want to join, we should do what we can to help them understand Karuta. But everybody has different goals. Everybody at this point has a different goal. And Taichi's like, look, Chihaya. Now, okay. Again, we're going to talk about this. I'm glad that Chihaya says what she does, right? I'm glad she says what she does. Because when we're at this point here, everybody has a different goal. Taichi wants Chihaya to practice, to get better. And I get why he does that, because Chihaya tends to get a one-track mind sometimes and she loses focus. But he's like, but I do not like Taichi telling Chihaya what to do. I don't like it. I would not like that. If I had a partner, I would not like them being like, well, you don't have time to teach the first years who aren't particularly interested. And she's like, what? He's like, if you're serious about playing in the Queen and King match, you should skip club practice and go to the society instead. Which, my thing is, I know Chihaya knows that she needs to practice. She's probably well aware. She does not need Taichi to remind her. Taichi needs somebody to remind him because he's too worried about her instead of himself. But she has a point too. And I get why he's doing it. He wants to elevate her. He wants to elevate her to the queen status. Honestly, this is kind of why I like Sumire with Taichi and that idea. Because what Sumire would say if she was with him, she'd be like, why are you focusing on her? Focus on yourself. She'd be like, elevate yourself to master, and then what? She'd probably say that. I'm putting words in her mouth, but I bet she'd say that. She'd be like, why are you focusing on her? She'll figure it out. And then they're like, what are you talking about, Mishima? He's like, the high school tournament comes first. So Nishida is worried about the high school tourney that's in June. So he's like, we need to worry about the high school tournament comes first, not nationals. It's been a year since we played as a team. Is the individual tournament more important? And then Nishida, why are we surprised? Because Nishida has been able to talk very flagrantly and boldly about Chihaya all season 1. And everybody was just like, oh, Nishida. But you see how Taichi gets flustered whenever Nishida's blunt and is like, oh, you're probably worried because you're not class A yet. Oh, now what? Now what? Not funny when they're talking about you. And then Kana's like, Porky. And he's like, oh. And he's like, oh, sorry. But you weren't sorry when you talked about Chihaya. See how it is. And yeah, Taichi's flustered. He's flustered, and rightfully so. And then Kana's like, well, I'll take the responsibility of teaching them. We don't need 20 new members. We will we'll let the ones who can keep up remain. And I do agree with Kana on that. I like the idea that Kana is like, I'm going to teach the new ones. They need to know, what did she say, their proper etiquette? Yeah, she's like, we need to teach them proper etiquette, which I think is fair. And I do agree with her that they need to weed out the ones that aren't going to make it. And then Tsutomu's like, the 5 of us are playing in the high school tournament. The first years aren't important. So Tsutomu is kind of on the same boat with Nishida about the high school tourney. And they said the first years can sit out. Which, I'll tell you right now, that mentality is PTSD from his first year. From him, Tsutomu is projecting insecurities. Because Tsutomu had that insecurity of not being needed in the first tournament. Where, you know what, Chihaya could have said, actually, you were needed for the first high school tournament because you helped us win when I lost against Pseudo. So, let's be real. So, I feel like Chihaya, again, is realizing that they're not all on the same page. And they're like, what are you expecting from the first years? We're the ones who are going to be winning the matches. But Chihaya brings up a great point. She brings up a fantastic point. Again, the coaching mentality that Chihaya has in this moment. Dr. Harada would probably be proud. He'd probably flick her on the forehead and be like, you're not getting it totally right. But he'd be proud of her. Because, you know, Nishida is very, again, this is perfectly in character with Nishida. But Nishida's pretty self-assured that he's like, we don't need these first years. The 5 of us have got it. And I'm like, actually, what happens if one of you gets sick? What happens if one of you passes out from heat exhaustion so you don't have to forfeit? What about that? We should probably want one of these freshmen coming in to be able to play and keep up. So if something happens or you break a leg or you're sick, we have another option for the tournament and not just have to forfeit because you can't rely on everything going fine. They got really lucky in season 1 that they didn't need. It would be like, oh, freshman on a basketball team, I just stand there. We don't need you. You do. And I love Chihaya and her mentality of not only long game thinking, are they going to have to keep the Karuta team going when we're gone, but she's like, they are just as important as any sophomore. Nishida is running on a very seniority mindset, and people do that a lot, and it is what it is. I don't like that because as a coach, I have seen freshmen come in who have been more talented than the sophomores or the juniors or seniors. And you may not like that. You may not like that this fresh kid comes in and they got the talent and they got the ability and they pick up quickly and they do well, but that's how it is. That's life. And so as a coach, I'm not going to deny that person the ability to shine just because you've been here longer. And if that person's working harder than you, definitely not going to do that. So I get what Nishida is saying, but I get Chihaya being like, we don't know what they're going to be like. She's like, we need to not let them, fall to the wayside. So yeah, Sumire sends all these pictures of Taichi, and Nami, her friend, says, he's out of your league. Good luck. I don't see you landing that hunk. I don't know. Again, I've seen Fruits Basket. I've read the manga. I don't know. I could kind of see it. But her saying, I want to be popular. She's like, I'm like your typical shoujo manga main character. I like Sumire a lot. I like her a lot already. I want to know more about the guy, but I like her already. So then we have them tossing notes back and forth. And Chihaya is like, there could be a first year who loves Karuta and is really good. And then his response is, we have 2 months until the tournaments. There's no time to train them now. We can wait 2 months. And that is fair. But she's like, well, but if we wait 2 months, then they might leave. And then he's like, I don't see a problem. I do feel from Chihaya too. I think she should stress, if I were her, I would be stressing that, hey, we're not going to have a place to practice if we don't keep these members. And I love Chihaya is caring so much. And it is very frustrating. I feel frustrated on her behalf. I understand where the other characters are coming from, but I feel frustrated on her behalf because I can relate a lot to her struggles in this. Meanwhile, the Empress is over in the class with Tsutomu and Taichi, and Taichi's thinking about Chihaya and how she says she's going to teach them. And again, Taichi, my dude, when he's thinking about how she wants to teach them, he's like, she doesn't understand how precious time is right now. I'm like, I wish you would give her more credit, and I wish you'd give her a little more respect. Because I know Taichi means well, but it's such a turnoff for me for a guy to be like, I know what's best for you. And I'll be like, oh, the F you don't. Bye-bye. So if I were Chihaya, that'd be like a big red flag. And I want Taichi to be a green flag. And Taichi needs to worry about himself, Mr. I'm not even class A right now, before trying to dictate what class A Chihaya should be doing with her time. And I know he means well. But my dude needs to focus on himself a wee bit more. She's the one dreaming about becoming queen. She's the one who cries when she loses. Oh, dude, you cry! Do not be saying that she cries because she cares. She cares more than you right now. So should you be judging her? No, I don't think so. And I'm like, Taichi, she has a dream and a goal, but she's also a person and is complex. Like, let her be. Taichi, my dude. I feel like Sumire would slap him if she'd been there. So they go back to practice and do all that. And Chihaya, they're like, who's going to teach, the first years? And she's like, it's me. And Taichi gets mad at her. I'm like, Taichi, let her be. Let her be. Let her cook. Let her figure things out. And he's like, what do you care about the most? You're not going to defeat Shinobu like this. And I'm like, here's my problem. Taichi sounds like he's trying to be a coach for Chihaya, but he's not doing it the right way. And he needs to fix himself before he coaches anybody else. Said my piece, said my thing. And then Kana's like, well, my priority is the proper etiquette. I'm going to teach the first years. Some may quit, but we need to teach them how to behave. Tsutomu is like the practice environment. He just wants to keep people there so they have the space. He doesn't care if they're good or not. And Nishida wants to focus on the high school championship. The preliminaries are in June. And I love that she just sits there like, is it my turn? Is it my turn to say my priorities? Is it my turn? And then she says, my priority is to get Taichi to rank A. Right now, I care the most about making Taichi class A. Which is not what any of them thought she was going to say. And Taichi is flattered. And he's like, what are you talking about? And Taichi's like, I'm the most important thing. Of course, Taichi, who's obsessed with her, is like, I'm the most important thing to her right now. But here's the deal. What she says next is, my goal is to win the team high school championship as well as the individual high school championships in each class. So whereas Taichi was viewing this moment as very romantic, like she just cares the most about me. I'm like, oh no, she does, but it's to an effect. She cares about you becoming class A because she wants as many class A people as possible to win all the titles. She's thinking strategically. And she's like, while training the first years, we're going to get Taichi to class A so we can become a strong enough school like Hokuo. Girl has a dream. Girl has ambition. Y'all can call it too greedy, but girl has, shoot for the moon. If not, you'll land among the stars. Like, let the girl cook. Let her have these ideas. I like her being ambitious. I like her having these goals. I think that they're huge, but I think that it's good. And it's not, I don't think Taichi becoming class A is unfeasible. I think it's doable. I think it's very doable. If he just gets his head out of himself and focuses on himself instead of Chihaya, I think it'll work out fine. I love it. I love it. They're like, you're too greedy. And I love that as she reaches for them, she's just like, everything is fine. We've got this. And he's like, how are we going to become a strong enough school like them? And she's like, if we recruit new members, I'll come back to teach them Karuta after I graduate. And this is really the first time that Chihaya has talked about doing anything post high school. And so the idea of her becoming a coach like Harada, I could see her being a teacher. I could totally see it. I love it. I think that's so awesome. I've never seen anyone so greedy. Or anyone who loves Karuta so much. So, of course, all the girls are disappointed that it's her coaching them and not Taichi. And she's like, well, once you learn the basics, they're like, oh, well, were you benched? And she's like, I'm the ace. Which is somewhat true. Somewhat true. And the whole I'm the ace. She's like, yes, that's how this is. Freaking love it. I want to know why that guy is there. So then Taichi, he's like, do y'all care if I go practice at the Shiranami Society? Which I like. Nishida's like, no, man, you're trying to make yourself better. Go do it. Go do you. He's like, why are you asking? You can go practice with Hiroshi, the hottest character in the show, Hiroshi, and Dr. Harada. I love it. Like, go get it. Taichi making class A. And Tsutomu says Ayase has changed a little bit. Ayase's words inspired Mashima to think about himself for once. That's the thing. Taichi makes these goals. He's like, I want to be able to play Karuta with Chihaya and Arata. Chihaya and Arata have got it. Let them worry about themselves. Let them figure things out for themselves. You worry about you, and you get yourself to that level, and you'll be fine. So meanwhile, we have, this one guy looks like Pseudo. He looks like he could be Pseudo's cousin. They might be related. We might see that. But she reads the poem, and then so the flower has wilted during the long spring rains. just as my beauty has faded. Oh, okay. Going back to this poem. And she gets emotional about it. And I like that Chihaya immediately grabs like a whole box of tissues. Grade school teacher energy. Grade school teacher energy. Get this girl a job. She's like, the poem is correct. And then she's like, youth and beauty soon fades. So she's like, I have to live for love. I mean, look at it. Look at it this way. Am I wrong to see the vision? Am I wrong to see the Sumire and Taichi vision? Am I wrong? She's a hopeless romantic, which Taichi very much is a hopeless romantic. Yes. So she's all of that. And I love Chihaya's like, she's so sensitive. So she catches up with Taichi at the train stop. She's like, what a surprise. And she's like, oh, you called me Sumire. And he's like, what's your last name? And then he starts calling her Hirano-san as soon as he learns her last name. But she's like, he called me Sumire. Like, she's just focused on that. She's like, even his voice is perfect. Which, I mean, it's Miyano Mamoru's voice. Let's be real. I'm lucky we take the same train to school. Which he's taking the train to go to the society, so it might not even be the same train. And so he's like, there's an open seat. And she's like, well, I couldn't sit down while you're standing. There might be other people who need the seat more. So I'd rather leave the seat open. And he's like, really? She's like, I have to play the sweet little girl. But here is my thing. This was kind of the turning point for me and the two of them. Because she tries to play this sweet and innocent. When honestly, girl is cunning. And Taichi plays oftentimes like the pretty boy, but in the reality, he's, got all these insecurities about him. So they have layers to their character already. But she's such a good foil to Chihaya because Chihaya is so pure and plays everything on her sleeve and what you see is what you get. And Taichi is kind of enamored by that and loves that about her. Sumire is the opposite. Sumire has like layers of a mask put over her face that she puts off this persona, but you don't see what's inside. And he's like, well, don't worry about it. You're not feeling well, right? And she's like, And then she's like, oh, this guy is thinking of me. So sure, I'll take the seat. Of course, every girl's looking at him on the train. And that's when, and of course, Taichi has the I'm not showing my eyes stance. And she says to him as they're on the train with the blush on her face, you must be popular. And he looks back to her and says, I wouldn't know. And it's like, she's like, you must be. I bet girls ask you out all the time. You don't have to worry about looking for a girlfriend. And he's like, I'm not really sure about that lately. BS about that. But then he says this. He says this line, it doesn't seem right to let a girl choose me. And I was like, where are we going with this? So Taichi makes the claim. Taichi says that he says it doesn't seem right. Get this right. It's not right for a girl to choose me. He's like, if a girl proposed to me, I would not say yes. And I'm like, this is the part that I was kind of like, well, but Chihaya would be the person to propose. She would get down on one knee and propose to Taichi or Arata. She would. Girl would. And Arata would be like, okay. But Taichi's like, I'm not letting a girl choose me. I'm a man. And then he says in that moment, I would rather choose the girl I devote myself to. Oh, Taichi, this is why you're single. I would rather choose the girl I devote myself to. What Taichi is basically, in my opinion, saying in that moment is that he's like, all these girls can ask me out, but I'm going to decide who I want to date. And when I decide who I want to date, I'm going to go up to them and tell them how I feel. You know who else says that? Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. She's the one, the lucky girl I'm going to marry. That is the vibes I got from that line. I was like, Taichi, my dude, I know you don't mean it that way, but I'm like, you can say you're going to choose who you devote yourself to. He's basically choosing the hopeless romantic route. He's like, I'm going to devote myself to this girl, and it may become an unrequited love, and I may never be happy or satisfied or be in a loving relationship, but at least it's someone I chose to devote myself to. It's very White Knight. Very White Knight, but it gives me Gaston vibes too. Whereas, you know, like Beauty and the Beast, in that one, the Beast started out being kind of a jerk, but then he realized he was a jerk, and then she was nice to him, and he realized that she was nice to him, and then he changed his ways and became a better person, and, you know, that ended up winning them over, and then she said that she loved him, and she chose him, and he was like, good to go. So that's not the vibe that you're getting with Taichi in this moment. And she's kind of like, oh, this guy, he's going to devote himself to somebody. And once he devotes himself to that person and has decided, then that's going to be his entire focus and all he wants, which he's doing that now with Chihaya. Essentially, he's devoting himself to her. And I like that she just kind of views him like, well, that's a very chivalrous White Knight way of looking at things. And then the train stops and he looks back at her. And then when he looks back at her, he goes, well, you're pretty cute, so I bet a lot of boys would choose you. But here's the thing. She kind of feels the same way he does. When he says that, he's like, I bet a lot of boys would choose you. And she's like, well, what if I think the same thing that you do? What if I am going to choose the boy that I'm going to devote myself to? She essentially, in this moment, Sumire realizes that her and Taichi are kind of the same. They're just, right now, she's going after him and he's going after someone else. And he says, bye. I'm like, Taichi, why would you say that to a girl? Why would you say that to a girl if you had no interest in her? Why would you say that? Why? You didn't have to say anything. And I love that as she watches him walk away, she says, that really stung. Because basically he was rejecting her. He's like, if you say that you like me, cool, but I don't like you. I like someone else. But then she's like, he will never choose me unless I make him. And then I love that she's like, well, I'm not going to accept that. I want to have a choice too. I don't want to write poems without regret. While the story is taking a romantic twist for some members, our captain is bullying the new members. I like that Sumire is like, bullshit. You say you're going to choose who you love. Well, I can choose who I love. And if it's you, what you going to do about it? I love it. I love it. Honestly, I feel like Taichi and Sumire, they kind of deserve each other in a weird way. I'm kind of here for it. Chihaya is so pure. I'm an Arata Chihaya shipper. I really am. I am all about them. Or Arata and Taichi. If Taichi ends up with Chihaya, I'm not opposed to it, but Taichi's got a lot of work to do to get to Chihaya's level in my mind. I don't think Chihaya has to meet Taichi. I think Taichi has to meet her. And he's got a ways to go. But I'm kind of for Sumire and Taichi. I'm kind of for them. I'm kind of rooting for her. Because Chihira has no interest in dating anybody right now. She's not even got romance on the brain. She's too involved with teaching these new kids. Like, let a girl go. Honestly, Chihaya, I won't say she gives ace vibes because she does view the poem kind of romantically. Taichi is a damn yearner, romancer. Arata is very much head in the clouds. Arata and Chihaya are just, let me phrase it to you this way. Arata and Chihaya are, to me, the Kageyama and Shoyo of this series. There, I said it. They're both two Karuta idiots bound together, whereas Taichi is giving me Oikawa vibes 1,000 times over. So, yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. I'm an Oihina shipper too, so we'll see about that. But I like Sumire. I like her a lot. I think she's got a lot of potential. And who knows, down the road, she may not like Taichi anymore. I would, honestly, if she doesn't end up with Taichi, I would love for her to give Taichi a piece of her mind by the end of this. I really would. But we'll see where that goes. We'll see where that goes. I'm really curious about the guy that looks like Pseudo. I'm super curious about him. What's his deal? What's he doing in all of this? How's that going to go? But they don't give us a preview, so we'll just have to wait till next week to find out. So, yeah. Anyway, this was a great start to the second season. I'm super excited. I will preface, as I say in all episodes, I like Taichi. Our boy's got some work, but he'll get there. I know he'll get there. Anyway, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back real soon with more Chihayafuru. Bye!